Congressman Ron Paul held a campaign rally in Fairfield, Iowa on Sunday. This was his final event of the day, which started with the latest Republican presidential debate that morning. Here's a look at a portion of his remarks at the rally.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor and a privilege to present to you an American hero, Dr. Ron Paul. Thank you. It's good to see everybody.
You know, in foreign policy, up until about 100 years ago, the foreign policy was that of providing a strong national defense and take care of ourselves. But about 100 years ago or so, that notion changed, especially with the Woodrow Wilson administration. They decided that the notion would be idealistic and that we were going to make the world safe for democracy. And it has gotten into us a lot of trouble ever since. But more recently, of course, now we have been involved in the Middle East trying to spread democracy and do things that we just don't have a right to do. And there has been no threat of our national security, no real reason for us to be engaged in a war that has been going on in the Middle East for 1,000 years, and they're going to continue to fight. And what we need to do is to recognize that and find out that the solution is very simply, we need to bring our troops home. You know, it's been said many times, we especially hear this in Washington, D.C., if you take this position that we shouldn't have gone in and that we should bring our troops home is, oh, you don't want to support the troops. But did you ever think about it, though? If they had our foreign policy, had been following our foreign policy, that a lot more Americans would still be alive and a lot less injured today. So the sooner we change that policy, the better it will be for all of us. But we've been involved in many ways. We're involved with the Iranian government. We've been involved with Iran for a good many decades, and it has always come back to haunt us. We've been involved with Iraq and the Middle East now for several decades, and they claim it's not for oil, but quite frankly, I believe oil is very much involved in our pursuits in that region. But it is important for us to realize that we do not have to be weakened by having a policy that made good sense for the founders and is supported for our Constitution. The founders said no entangling alliances, friendship with people, you know, and trade with people and talk to them instead of confronting them and being militantly opposed. And actually, what has happened here in these last few years is the American people have come to accept the government and a policy that we in this country have accepted the notion of preemptive war. To me, that is so dangerous, this idea that, oh, maybe someday they might have a weapon, someday they might attack us, so now we have to go and start the war. That, to me, is un-American, and we need to change that policy. There are a few other things that we have done in Washington that I think have been disastrous. I imagine some of you have heard about this mandatory program of mental health testing for every single kid in the country. This, to me, is the wrong way to go. We do not need the federal government coming in and testing every single kid to find out whether he should be put on some type of drug, psychotropic drug, in order for... And that's the kind of program that's coming along. But guess what? When you really search it out, you find out that drug companies are behind some of this motivation. This is it in the early stages, and I tried real hard to stop it. We weren't able to stop it because it's always the bleeding heart that says, you know, there might be some child that needs that medication, and they won't get it. So therefore, they have to test every single person. They've had a few test runs on this, and I think it's like 12 or 14% of everybody tested ends up on medication. And this medication, from a physician's viewpoint, is very dangerous. And I'm not saying that some of that medicine never helps some people, but basically it is overused, and a lot of kids who get into trouble have been put on these medications, and they have done more harm than good.
Please join us. Please join Dr. Paul on Saturday in Ames, Iowa. If you want his message of freedom, prosperity, and peace to change this country, show up in Ames, Iowa. We have tickets for the first 500 people that are ready to go. There are places over here with Heather to sign up. There are places to sign up around there. Those of who have generously given some funds in the envelopes, please pass them around. We're honored and delighted to be here. I'm honored to be back in my home in Iowa. And thank you so much for coming out.
The purpose of government is to protect the secrecy and the privacy of all individuals, not the secrecy of government. The freedom message brings us together. It doesn't divide us.